when I see this, immediately for me this is as clear as, I don't know what you say in English, as clear as possible. Then you have the structure, and then there is a mirror, and it's an APA in music, the structure. And then I have if I put a mirror here, I have this that is reverted there. Then I have a sense of structure, I even have a sense of temporal unfolding. So then I just write the music notes that correspond to this. A is this, so it's this, and then B, I wrote there, is this, C, I wrote here, corresponds to this, D corresponds to this, E corresponds to this. That is a little personal problem, is that music is an art that unfolds in time, so unless you have the computer technology to superimpose different drawings as they unfold, I have to put them next one after the other. So Ian gives me a sense of whether he does it intentionally or not, that's another story. A sense of pitch, then there is another pitch, the other line that weaves along that line, but not exactly, and then suddenly like a cliff. So these are here my pitches. I have to use musical notation. Then I have this structure here. This more dense, the black corresponds to some chords, and then the mirror here at the end. This is completely different. So I imagine that I organize time horizontally, and if I organize pictures vertically, then I would have to scan this and convert to sounds, and where there are black dots I have sound, where there is white I have no sound, and my dynamics come from the texture. It looks like some cheap cop-out, but actually it's not, it can work. But then it needs some intelligent machine to read this and then to convert it to sound. But when I see this, it does ring a bell. Then, region. So this strangely evokes not a structure, but definitely some texture, some timbres. Except this one, I don't know what to do with this one. So this one I just put in between brackets, and I write tacet. Tacet in music means keep quiet, means don't do. So this, I purely react emotionally to what I see, and then these are this kind of rhythms in canon for strings. This you have one chord with this sound gesture. You put fives, you also do 5 lines, 5 polyphonic lines, before and after emerging. This is clearly, it's funny that I say clearly because to me it's clear in my mind, but you can argue why, and then I wouldn't know why, how to justify. This is a home pedal, this sound. With this here, this is very structured, very. So I also build a chord that is also square. And then this is part of this, so I have the middle of my chord. And then this is one dense cluster, and then as you have concentric circles, centrifugal that spiral away, I also spiral away and I slow down. That's the notation for slowing down. as yours are spacing more in time.
Thank you, Robert. So that means you can take those back and put them into music composition.
Yes, there will still be a lot of work. It's not, but I could, yes. No. Yes. No more question you want to.
We'd love to get a picture.
That is you have the advantage that between, okay, it also takes you a long time and not between the first sketch and your realizations, but once it's there, it's created, it still needs to be recreated in the look of the person who watches, but it already exists in a tangible form. It also takes, let's say, the same amount of time as yours to come with a finished artwork, but then we have to go through performers, which has the advantages and disadvantages. So there is actually in music what's called graphic scores. I don't know if you have ever seen this. It's very, very interesting to see, and sometimes you don't know, is this done by a musician or is done by a visual artist? And the score doesn't have even sometimes not even a single musical notation. It's a drawing, and that's given to the player, and he has to interpret it and play that. And the musicians who have never done this in the beginning think it's nonsense, they can do anything. And once they start working, they start to realize less and less it's not anything anyhow. And if you have never seen this, it's called what's it called again? Graphic scores. It's called graphic scores, and it's very, very interesting. I'm not here to convert you. I don't know why I say this. So, okay, yeah. If I can. Okay. I'm curious, can I have a quick response of the people whom I have massacred? For instance, what do you think of it? You can say nonsense like a thick skin is no problem.
It's very funny that you translated it into music because it's actually about dance.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was taken like bits of screenshots from like a dance by a choreographer that I really like. So I just kind of wanted to like capture that image.
So somewhere I did sense the movement.
Yeah. So it's just pretty interesting. Yeah.
Okay. And Fiona. You can say it's nonsense, no problem.
I didn't think it would appear on the graph kind of thing.
Okay.
That is quite interesting. Thank you for something. I think it's not something I can do, but it's completely abstract. So yeah, it's quite cool.
Ian is a musician also. He plays. No. I'm very modest in front of you. So, sorry. So,
yes, I kind of saw like did something about talk something about some object too. So you made your object quite. Because I didn't know what it was. This is up to whoever is doing it too. Whether it's like an object or it's not.
but this is not an accident. Like this is a conscious human being.
Yes, conscious.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very like graffiti or like found art, like museums like mall, toilet mall, like the urban area.
I have the feeling that this is very structured, very, not very immediately when I was around. This is very intellectually very constructed, very structured.
Actually, I was thinking of corners.
I like the corner and the negation of the corner. Superimposed.
Extended.
The yellow, I don't know what to think of it. The background.
How about those slides?
This. Oh yes, this is. And then the texture that's changes, and then this, and then timers, and my cluster there.
That's exactly
Here, and a resolution. You're welcome. I'm sorry I have to disappear. I have to do it somewhere else because I really, if you do this again, I'm interested.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
If I pass the benchmark.
Very interesting things with the builds.
I will go reverse chronological. I will go everyone's except 5 of you. So I don't know to say sorry to those that didn't work on or those that didn't. Reverse chronology. By the time I had not much time left, I just went back to my usual. So paper, sculpture, collage. So this is a combination of Ian's and Ling-Nah's and Eric. So the method of doing this is that they must share the same point of axis, and I just cut whatever on one and then continue on the other, and then I interlace them. All of us work on here. So I like what Fiona did, and I chose some of them to put through here in this case. Seems like nothing much here, but there's supposed to be a word box.
What? Fox? F-O-X?
Yeah, it's the only word that is that I could find already here. So I kind of like, okay, I put it here and I poke through. It's not so obvious, but
It's Pierce?
I'm not so happy. Yeah, I'm not so happy with this, but this led me to the ones, the later ones. Glue with some kind of medicine powder. Yeah.
You could save it.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's good for their joints.
So this is the front, the back is that too. But that was done after I did this. So for this one, I basically told myself, use the color on the left to continue what the line in each box is trying to do if there were no box. So it's a simple thing. So I decided that rather than highlighting the original draft or the final, I thought editorial notations are quite cool. So I did spend quite a long time erasing old text and new text. And this one I have this one of these rulers to kind of puck using some of the corners. And then I had my drawings inside. I turned the thing a little bit before I made the... Actually, there's some kind of rule. So that, for example, you might see repetitions of this tail here. But I only color when I know that the next color will not... or something like that. Yeah, there's some kind of...
Thank you. Do you want to have any responses or questions to what Marco has presented? Any specific drawing? Anyone have any responses?
Huh?
I like how they're all
Yeah.
this is like
I used to try to make kind of coherent strategy, but I thought I would let the thing tell me what I'm doing.
Question one, did you just see fox appearing or why which one? The one with the dots. The first one that appears. You could why is it fox? You found that
I found it.
Fox.
Yeah, so I thought, is there a word already inside here? Yeah. Thank you. Fiona? Fiona's box.
I'm so rain. It's so rain. Yeah, I saw a lot of lights, so it's actually I'm quite confused.
If anyone couldn't see, right, can come closer.
I do a lot of like lines and a lot of shapes. I saw a lot of lines as well. So I just continue thinking about she was doing it wrong. They're all rainbows, white rainbows. Yeah, okay. The second one was this one there's like a hint of some structure. I saw something. Yeah, so I settled the surface. Yeah, it's like triangles. So the background I will complete it if I have
ready to hang. Not fair.
You want any specific questions or responses that you want?
I understand that you work with wood as a sculptor. So do you, especially that piece, do you see it as, do you work like you are chiseling things? No, actually, what I do is like I make them into little shapes and I bring something along. This is a big thing of it. But I saw a shape there is not inside.
It's very interesting when you have a closer look.
Yeah, your work is very detailed. Yeah, I'm quite obsessed. I like the obsessiveness to make very detailed. Textures.
Next will be Ling-Nah.
Here,
Yes, you can do that.
I view something out of Fiona Tan, right? Your sketch and Ian's drawing and Tia's plan and Rachel. Yeah, I connect, I demarcate, I build. So actually, the first thing that brought me was Fiona's and Yang Jie's sketch. There's a staircase. I like staircases very much. So it started from there, and drawing is also it's a lot to do with lines. So I actually try to connect all my stuff with lines to link them and to build them. So the building is actually quite spontaneous, but there was also a lot of tearing. So the tearing, in a way, is the creation of the line as well. So and although I used the four, right, but I also responded to this writing. So I sort of pick up some words, but I don't know whether it has any connection. But they are here, they are sprinkling. There is, I think there's pleasure. What are the words that? Yeah. So there are some words here that sort of connects with me, and I had them there here as well. And the scapula with its bandage, sort of clavicle, comes into the drawing. So I drew it. Yeah. So that's how I bring this into my drawing.
It's like a dream.
Yeah, I find it's actually quite therapeutic, as I told Joshua. Yeah, I think it's some pockets of things going on, spaces.
It looks like when you hold it up like that, it looks like the arteries.
Arteries.
Because of
The line.
when you cut the shapes.
I think it's more intense on the right side. I think there's a lot happening going
Arteries,
on.
like
The arteries. Yeah. I changed your plan, of course. They're everywhere. Okay. I see your drawing, the fountain, like
Yeah.
sprinkling of thing, so I got a funnel to cope it. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I guess the next one. Go by reverse order. I kind of use this because when I heard, the first thing I heard is this is from 2005. So that got me thinking that this has time in it. And first I tried to erase it because I was reflecting on how we are. Every time Singapore builds, we erase something. But when in the process of erasing, I find that I have a hard time erasing because it actually ages quite badly. So then I gave up. I'll just build on top of it. So I'm using, I think, year's plan. So I kind of start building on it, and also Fiona's sketches. Then it sort of struck me that there's something about we never quite grasp the pleasure of sauntering to the gate of Slow City. What sort of took me is the Slow City. So it's kind of a bit more reflective of how we are now today. And this one is very simple. When I read this, I was like, whoa, shit, instructions. Then so I kind of like highlighted, take this, reproduce it as close as is possibly to the original. The whole surface is a white wall, a straight line, the same colors together. That reminds me of our $2, what it says on the $2. And we get an A+. And the last one, which is the one that I did, the first one, which is basically, incidentally, I'm actually having some shoulder pain, so that sort of appeals to me right off. And the first thing I thought when I got my pain is like, oh shit, it's gonna be a while, it's gonna be a nuisance, it's gonna cost a bit. So that's what translates to it. So it's like, and that's my method, the real McCoy. Okay. Basically, my interpretations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone has anything to add to what Liu has presented? Or you come closer to the better shoulder?
Actually, it's my right. So yeah, it's my right shoulder.
This one is a left.
It's left. Yeah. But I thought that shit, shoulder pain. Yeah. So it spoke to me.
So the medicine here is actually
There's a painkiller. Yeah, it's an anti-inflammatory. Yeah. So I'm undergoing some physio now. So it's expensive shit.
Since take care of yourself.
Which one you enjoyed?
Yeah, I think you did it first.
I think I spend the most time. I guess I kind of dwell into this a little bit more introspective. The rest itself, like, it's kind of like some pent-up tension.
Yeah, the rate is very strong. Yeah.
You struck a particular line from the poem.
Yeah, 2 lines. And it's more like Slow City, something like quite never grabs the pleasure of Slow City. Things are so fast, but then again, you can't really erase anything because there will be memories and space.
I find it's something interesting that instead of cutting or transplanting the drawing paper itself, they actually copied the plan of Attilio's drawing. Form of reproduction in a sense.
I think it's more like an interpretation because I try to copy, but the ratio is off.
I think what's interesting is also Shu Hong's writing is also from 2005.
Yes,
so it's about that time and
August 27, 2005.
some history to it.
The pieces made itself.
What was happening then in society? No question.
But actually, 2005 is the beginning of the book, actually. right? Of the boom. We have like a search, I feel. We have a search, and I think by then, very quickly, MBS was built, right?
Building.
So I wanted to try and get everyone onto the same page together. So I arrived in Singapore on Monday, and I've really been navigating the city over this week and using Google Maps all the time. I love train networks, I love train maps, so I'm enjoying the Singapore train network at the moment. So I wanted to get everyone onto the same page. So I guess being a curator as well, I like to have structure and rules. And so I came up with a little guide of how I was going to do this. So this is my little process. For each of the drawings, I wanted to make 2 points, a blue and an orange point, a start and an end point, 2 nodes on a map linking together. So yeah, including all the drawings. So the blue dot is it's quite often the top left-hand side of the drawing, and the orange dot was sort of somewhere lower on the right-hand side. And yeah, then I went about just slicing all of the drawings and then just constructing this drawing, just like a little train network. So nearly everyone's on there. I didn't quite get time to put 2 on. I was working my heart out there. So it's almost like a little abstract geometric form. Yeah.
Are you trying to replicate the MRT map that's in the road?
No, not really.
Because it's sorry.
I've probably been looking at it every day so much. But I also wanted to include everyone's names as well as like little nodes or little stations, rather than just having or slicing works and then not having that represented. So
It might be kind of like those elevations that you have to flip out from museums. Like which floor you have.
Yeah.
See what floor.
I have been to a few museums this week, so it's probably all in my head. I'm getting it out.
Actually, it reminds me of the rice that comes with satay. But leaves that get entwined.
Ketupat, the traditional Malay leaf rice. It's
Pandan? No.
pandan leaf.
No, it's not pandan. I think it's coconut, right? Coconut, yeah.
It's coconut. So they weave it together and then they make it into a bowl. Rice is put in and cook.
You're going to show him, yeah.
You have to try it.
It's like the ideal design for an artist's village. Each artist has his own corridor, and kind of near to each other and overlapping, but it's possible to not intrude, not meet.
Yeah.
So there's options.
It's my little false utopia, perhaps.
The mind of the curator as well.
Yeah.
Trying to be equal.
Yeah. Straight line.
That's the role of curator, right? Bringing people together and putting up something.
Yeah. And I have worked quite collaboratively before as a curator and as an artist, and some projects I did in about 2005, 2006. I did use a big diagram of a train map, incorporating artists into that map as sort of like it was almost like a catalogue essay of my ideas. It was a mind map basically of all of these artists that were related to the project. So it's always, I just love maps, love mapping. Thank you.
I just told myself how to react intuitively to every piece. So I try to do every piece. So who is this? Jing X.
Genius.
Okay. So I try to do something one
one thing to each image that I feel will make it closer to what I like. So for your one, I like try to make it more black. Just try to color, because at first I didn't notice these two people. So I realized that maybe there's a lot of things going on. Yeah. Then Joe's one. Joe is not here. Joe's not here. Okay, I don't know. I think it's some musical composition.
Joe is a sound designer.
Okay, so I just trace a blue line in some kind of circular pattern that he was doing to make some pattern. And this is so I don't know, there was like, this is like a scan, is it?
Yes.
It's like some kind of
This is from my sketchbook. Then I actually took out the brown because I used to draw on brown paper.
Oh, okay. Because there was like some white thing here. So I like that white thing covering up. So I just added one. This one is the Dr. Tan, I think he left already, right?
Yeah, and left he had an emergency to attend to.
Oh, I felt his the joint like not very structural, so I added more structure. She did a lot of like this, like a vertical motion. I decided to do something horizontal. Like it looks like to me, it looks like some city in some mountains. This one is Fiona's one. So this one, I realized there's no dot that is like just one dot. So I added one dot in the middle. And like none of the dots are alone. Then this is Charles one. So this one I felt it was like some tiny kind of scenery. So I added one human in the middle of it. It's my girl's one. So I don't know, it seems to be trying to conceptualize some kind of rectangular object. So I just added like a nice rectangular object. This is Eric's one. So I think it's some storyboard, right?
Yeah.
So
You added on.
oh yeah, I thought maybe it's nice if it just end with a door open. But I don't know what to do. Okay, this is Fiona's one, and like a lot of things all over the place. So I imagine like it's some kind of circus, and then there's this sort of cute car thing going on. Okay, this one is so this one I read through your story. Actually, I don't want to carry on this thing. But that's not my change. It's not I put light reflects imperfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just then this one is Warren's one. So it's like some instructions for an artwork, right? And then I felt if I do this infinitely, right, I'll get some kind of infinite asterisk kind of symbol. So that's like the first thing that when I read this instruction. Lydia's actually I don't know what to think. So I thought it's like some lotus in one. I just added some lines. This is I really don't know what to Robert the sound thing, right?
Yeah.
So I looked at it for very long and I realized I cannot think of anything this way. So I put it like this and it looks like some towers. I just like to like a flower. Maybe this is another one. Ian's one. So I felt the composition, right, looks like going to rotate around this side. So I just put like a line to stop it rotating. My one, she's just some designer working on it, so I just clarified the proportions.
You're the drawing doctor.
It's just what I like. It's not
So you use red pen.
Do you find fun?
yeah, for me, just think of how I think of whatever.
Some of them were real nice and simple. Like even just adding that horizon line, it was like just a line, but it was changed the whole dynamic of that.
No, I like the dot actually. No, because it's we was able to observe that there's no dot that's not showing through. It's alone.
Shall we move on to Warren? My responses are pretty instinctive. Some of them are quite fucked up, but that's me. So let's go with Michael's. I just saw all these lines, and I thought, how many lines can I make by folding it? So I folded it as much as possible. And then after I unrolled it, I was quite pissed off with like how structural it seemed. So I just had to create some plot down here. So that's that. This one, what I saw was an image, right? It's like a story, a narration. And I just finished my master's course, and there's a whole bunch of us within the course that's hyperly sexual. And I thought, how does this move forward, you know? And Ian will know I'm thinking of Derry, I'm thinking of Madeline. So I see like two people on an animal, and I thought, where are they going forward? So I thought, you know, they went back and had caught animal sex with the beast, and I like squeezed as much liquid paper as onto it to simulate semen. This one, I just thought of like colors and shapes, you know, like some kind of like neo fake modernist kind of work responding to it. I mean, with Eric's, it was quite malicious because I'm like, yeah, you give me a whole storyboard that's so fucking boring. I just want to cancel all of it out and replace it with colors. Like, don't give me your bullshit story. So that happened. With this one, I was like, God, this is like so fucking intense. There's so much lines going on there. How can I respond to this as minimally as possible? So I just traced the outline of it, which was quite fun for me, you know, like trying to trace all these little intricate outlines. This is one of my favorites because I see a flower, I think of petals, I think of folds, and I thought of folding it even more. But when I see something so beautiful like a flower, I instinctively want to fucking destroy it. So I want to crush it, like there's great violence in this piece, and I really like it, so I just crushed it as much as I could. And then, you know, gently unfurled it a bit. When I saw these plants, I just thought of that rubbish National Art Gallery. And so I just responded, it's a red. This one was like so much text. But I like that I saw some pretty interesting words in there, so I redacted everything else, but just left the text that was, you know, interesting to me. And there's one last piece over there which is Ian's. I'm not sure if you can try it. It kind of is. So what I did is that, you know, when I saw Ian's work, it kind of reminded me of a dress. And I think of like songs like Christy Burke's Lady in Red. I think of like in those horror shows where a girl wears a red dress and she's stabbed, oh, the blood comes out, she's dying, you know. And I think about how many times I had people spill wine on me and I'm so pissed off. So I just poured wine to try to replicate the shade. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
What words did you develop? Do you read the words that you did?
Pleasure, because I am quite decadent. Light, which is the part of my practice. Reflect, and perfectly, again part of my practice. Surface and mirror, also in my practice. Being and here, because they are like these emotive words which everybody likes to use anyway all the time. Oh, I'm being, I'm here. And so, yeah, so just putting those words out there.
Any responses to what we heard here?
Disclaimer, I'm not trying to piss anybody off. It's just my immediate response to this. Okay? So,
No other questions? We can move on to the
Honestly, when I came here, I didn't know what to expect. Because I didn't know whether I'm supposed to draw or am I supposed to write. I was thinking maybe I should just come here and observe and then quietly leave. And when I was given a choice to write or draw or do whatever I want, I thought maybe I should just stick to writing. And I think that's a good choice because all the talents here, right? Okay, so what I did was I first looked at Ian's piece, and the first thing that I think of is all those horrible woodwork lessons I used to have to do in secondary school, right? When you have to file the metal piece and plane down the wood to get it level, and for some strange reason I can never get the wood level. And I was also looking at the wooden surface that I was writing on. So I thought about sort of like post-LKY, in which direction our nation is going towards. There's all this talk that you see on Facebook, the social media and all that. And I thought I sort of link it to my futile attempt at trying to plane down a surface and never quite getting it level. So there's a lot of all these things, I guess in society, the differing opinions and all that, that I was trying to think about how we can sort of level things, or maybe leveling things are not the perfect way of going with it, and whether we should just keep certain things unleveled. So I have like I responded to 3 pieces, so I'll just share the drafts of poetry that I've managed to create. So this is in response to Ian's piece. Lever, level, leveler of things. Leveling the plank, the wood-grained surface, is it level enough? The mess diminishes along with what's ingrained, the monarchy of fallacies, the imperfections, the gregarious push for conformity. To give way to disagreements, a different imperfection, agrarian reforms, uneven distribution, another level of disrepute. So I kind of ran out of space. So I had to cut this sort of image right across to the last word, which I guess becomes kind of like a title as well. So that's the first piece. Then the second piece that I worked on is Ling-Nah's image, which is impossible to write on, right? So then I thought of turning the page over, and I thought of using the stencil to do this PTO thing to sort of turn it over so that I can have space to write. So then I guess PTO can be seen as a title. And I did think of rain as well, so I decided to write something about the weather. PTO for a different kind of weather, but it doesn't happen. The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. The air solidifies, closes in, then turns around, but not before leaving traces of grime from his soggy or muggy palms. Now, once again, where does it rain? Outside the window, clouds form, but in Liza, hurricanes hardly happen. So there's a bit of that lyrics that are taken from this song from My Fair Lady, and because I was checking out the lyrics from the internet, they had the different singers being listed so that we know who is singing which part, right? So when I was reading Eliza, so I guess it was a line that was sang by Eliza Doolittle, but because there was no punctuation, so it reads as Eliza Hurricanes, which I thought was quite interesting. It's almost like a hurricane is named after Eliza, and it sounded kind of fierce, right? So Eliza Hurricanes are here. So it sort of went along with my recent preference to words found poetry, where you would take or lift lines from existing text. Yeah, so, and taking that one step further in terms of found poetry, I sort of composed this solely based on the instructions that accompany the storyboarding of Eric Wu's piece. And I choose for the title, Tonight I Will Teach You. So that's one of the panels. So that's the title. Okay, so Tonight I Will Teach You, ... Okay, it's impossible to read. She flexes her biceps. So what I do is I look at this particular one and I sort of number it, and then it goes towards the second one, which becomes the second line, and then it goes back and forth. She flexes her biceps, goes, follow, as shot, goes, follow, feet, go, faces, times 4. So I just sort of compose a short. I have to say that it felt like an exam though. Try not to lose any marks.
I like how usually when we see words and we visualize it, at least doing it the other way around to actually put visuals into words. So that's a good take on seeing things in I especially like the recording.
On the leveling one?
The leveling one. Yeah, I like the parallels so much.
Yeah, because for that one, what I did was I was also trying to play with words that are kind of similar, that can sort of play with one another. Like from the word lever, I think of level, from level to leveler, and leveling. And of course, wood grain sort of spin off another word which is ingrain, and gregarious with Bulgarian, and then so on. Yeah. So it's sort of like forming the words. And because of the short time, I guess a lot of the writing had to be kind of stream of consciousness, just looking at the images and then responding. And sometimes I worry a bit about whether the words make sense, but then that might be a later editing process.
I feel like there's a sense of uncertainty, even in some that actually kind of worked. Because that's what happens when you actually start crafting something. There's so much uncertainty, but there's so much excitement that's also
I like how the second poem, which is about climate, is also kind of influenced or tainted by the political context of the first poem. And so I see peace turnover as being able to encompass some important person turning over in his grave as well. Yeah.
Possibly. I have to say that when I was invited to contribute a poem about LKY, before his death, I didn't feel compelled to write anything. But after he died, then I felt there were more things to write about. Yeah. But this peace turnover is more, I don't know. I mean, if you're talking about turning over, I don't know, some people may think of turning over a new leaf, or wanting a different environment, or wanting a different life. And if you complain about the weather, whether you look at weather in terms of it being a metaphor or just physical weather, the humidity and so on, is that something that you can turn away from? And if you turn away from it, maybe you get something else which is not what you want. Then, even though it's a different weather, I don't know whether that's going to make you happy. Yeah, so.
So do you find that writing with images and writing without images, do you think that writing with images is a bit disturbing?
Not really, because I have responded to artworks before. Like, I would go to a museum and look at a painting, but then I would have some captions which I can also look at some of the words. Recently, I have been asked to take part in a project for the Writers' Festival where I'm supposed to look at a piece of painting from the National Gallery, and I'm supposed to come up with 3 pieces to respond to it. So I have kind of done that before, except that, you know, those kind of exercises, you do have a bit more time. So now it's more like you look at something and then you have to respond quite immediately.
And you're responding on the sheet itself?
Yes, because I couldn't find any pieces of paper. Yeah, so...
It's very different from...
Yeah, it's true, because I look at everybody scribbling stuff on the existing pieces of paper. I thought I should just write my notes on it.
Could, because of the time, then whatever you responded will be much more raw and honest?
It could be. It may be slightly more experimental, because if I had time to think about it, then I would be thinking, why would lyrics from The Rain in Spain have a place to do in a poem that I'm writing? And what's the connection? Aside from the word rain, which sort of talked about the image a little bit. So it's a good thing as well. If you didn't have time to think about it, then you just sort of let your mind go, and you can possibly come up with words that can be quite surprising as well.
Oh, yes. See, so this piece kind of like got a life of its own after a while. So, first piece that I was really drawn to, and I think probably one of the more accessible drawings was Fearless, followed by Ignace, and then Ian. It's because it just seems a little bit more kinder in terms of like the space we should have called it to. But I really wanted to work with Holmes' writing, only because I've always, I kind of know him, and also I enjoy reading his stuff, so I really wanted this to be something. So I'm quite into collecting images and tracing and so on, so I started, well, it became like a jigsaw puzzle at some point. I started collecting parts, and so I started cutting out. I think the part that was most difficult, or I kind of was a little bit uncertain part, was this part. So I looked at Atelier's technical drawing, and that of is a Fiona's drawings. What was her drawing about? I wasn't entirely sure, but I decided to slice it up and put it together, sort of like a bag construction covering like work in progress, sort of out there. I really liked the drawing, but I was quite drawn to the lines that she presented over here. So I decided to cut out the shape of the humans and so on. So initially it started out with cutting out the tracing of Fiona's drawing, the lower part, and then I sort of imagined it was like a scroll, like a Chinese painting, and then I pulled it apart, like how it unpacked. And then this part was over here. And then I wanted to poke holes here, but I couldn't find a tool to do it properly. Okay. So yeah, and then I wanted a little bit of color here. The only piece that had some color was my own piece, which I was kind of embarrassed to lose. But I decided, oh, what the hell. This is actually meant to be displayed on a light box, so it's actually 5 layers of drawing into one, and then some parts of it is sewn. Maybe you see it here. So yeah, and then I like this part of what Wong is actually doing, so I decided to start with here. So I'm still not sure, should I display it like that, or like that, or like that, so I guess it's quite variable in whichever ways you can see it. And I was a little bit frustrated, there was no glue, so I was slicing Scotch tape at some point. Yeah, so I was quite happy to continue working and find more stuff and just to keep it. I really wanted to put that shoulder piece in, but it just couldn't find its place in the world. Then I started tracing it out onto Sulong's poem to see if I could do like replications of like different parts of the shoulder from tracing out from that. And then I put pens down and stuff. So yeah, I would love to continue working on this though. I feel like actually I also practice, and a little secret that I usually don't really tell people that none of my works are done. There's always something like a line that needs to be drawn, or like a part that's not fully colored, because I feel like I always go back and revisit it, and then it doesn't really die. Like I don't like finishing storybooks also, because I feel like, so I read like at least 10 books at one time. So this whole idea of an open ending. Oh yeah, that's the original.
The layers that you see here sort of reflected the layers that you've done.
Joshua actually like messaged me a few images like, is this okay? Is this okay? So I guess I'll tell you the story before like it's shown. But this, I kind of started sewing on this, and I started regretting it immediately because as I was sewing it, my mom was in my room, and she wanted to watch this drama serial, which was very stressful because all these women were fighting in this like Chinese drama serial, and I was trying to sew, trying on the tan paper, trying to watch the thing, and getting really stressed out. So this is meant to be shown on a box. So it's this random. The first part was very easy to do. I was just happy tracing. So this is the premise of like tracing. So do I share more now or later? I don't know. Okay. So yeah, because I teach at School of the Arts, and then very often I have to show students examples and examples and examples. So I just took a generic picture of something accessible, and then I started tracing it because I noticed tracing is a very good way of also displaying the idea of showing examples. That was the closest thing I could think about. And then I found a light box and I started tracing different layers. I could have done more, but I didn't know like how far to go. So I did 5 pieces, and then after the sewing piece, I was like, oh, that's it. I was so afraid of tearing it. And
The first layer was.
the first layer was no. This is not part of the work. Yeah, I can't remember. Okay, but I don't think I'll be sewing on paper anytime soon because it's quite stressful, and I don't have the patience for it. But it was a good experience. It was very intimate though. I think they've gone through it. But I probably will bring a light box here and see how it will look like. Like it's meant to.
You want something to say or add to what you did say? Just symmetrical.
It is, isn't it? I think unconsciously I was trying to find some kind of balance, like weight, distribution, and so on. Yeah. And also like now that I'm looking at it, I realize it's like, oh, I actually really like the word here, response by. I kind of like wanted to leave it in to see how, incidental parts of it.
Supposed to write your name there.
Oh, are you serious?
Nobody knew.
Bit hungry. Yeah. Okay. I guess. Maybe more than.
Shall we just move on to Jing?
I've managed to respond to 3 people. I felt really inspired by Ian's work and also Nina's work. And so for my series, I kind of use charcoal mainly. And because usually for my own practice, I don't usually I use more things that's like more control, like lines, markers, or acrylic paint. And for this one, I decided I want to give myself a little challenge and decide to just play with marks and something that's more abstract. So I started with Dr. Tan's work. Somehow I just felt really attracted to very organic shapes. And in my own graphic novels, I like to draw
internal bodies, like intestines or something that's inside. And actually, in the morning today, I was working on a comic strip that it's a story about like future kind of describe it like sci-fi kind of story, and it involves people entering into buildings and pressing their fingerprints, and also verifying their identity, not only with fingerprints but also with DNA, CT scans and stuff. So kind of I was drawing intersections of human brain, and I decided I want to play with Dr. Tan's work and added some visceral parts to it. And the second piece was by Eric Koo. I'm a graphic novel artist, so when I see storyboards or somebody else's work that's like very graphic, I felt very compelled to, do something with it. So I started first with tracing some parts of Eric Koo's drawings, and then picking up some of the elements, for example, the eyes, the faces. I think with most of my graphic novel practice, I usually start with drawing the eyes and the face, and I usually spend a lot of details on it. So I start with drawing a face, but I was comparing this with my first drawing, and I think I wanted something more abstract, and I felt the face is too literal. So the second part of for this piece, I decided to kill the face, try ways to just destroy it. So I tried again with charcoal, and then I started using Scotch tape, pasting over it, and just scratching and experimenting with the marks. And I think it's a surprise that I think charcoal and tape, I think they work really well. I think like the very interesting marks they make. So I decided to continue this practice with this piece, the third one. The third one is by Robert Castillo. I wasn't very sure what it was. I thought it was some kind of landscape, and I wanted a piece that's more like very open-ended, and that's why I chose this one. And I just kind of filled the piece with the charcoal, and I realized it kind of looked like a window with some lightings, like a black and white kind of landscape. And I continued by just tracing the marks left by the charcoal. It was quite fun to play with. So, and the last one is with Ian's work. And actually, for all these three pieces, the charcoal is depicting like general atmosphere, and the markers, I use it to capture some kind of sound, because I think among the audience here, there are a lot of artists and a lot of people playing sound. So these lines, the markers depict sounds like distractions, like suddenly if I hear something, I will just try to draw it out and depict the distractions in space. I think for this one, I want to draw out my emotions.
Very expressive.
Yeah, I'll start over very fast. What mediums do you usually use? For my comics, it's usually with markers and like markers, this kind of thing. Brush, or very fine 0.1, 0.2 microns. It's usually a combination. Like the lines I'll draw with pens, then I'll scan in the computer, then I'll color it with Photoshop.
So you draw, hand drawn, but it's black and white.
Yes.
So your computer then the colors.
Yes. It's mostly that case. Yeah. But sometimes I also start with shapes on the computer first for composition. And then I print it out. Then I use drawing to do another composition.
dream in colors?
I think I'm more of a black and white person.
Dream in night.
Okay. I think because also like my comic is more like inspired by film noir, so I always like the visual impacts of black and white. Like I really like the graphic novel Sin City. It's very good.
How about you feel about this art experience? I'm just curious, because one of the artists with the drawings, but I thought that they were drawing so hard back then. But how do you feel about like drawing on those drawings? Like this entire experience?
I love the energy and I love how like everybody's bringing something different to the table.
The table not drawing.
Everything, like, you know, very inspiring.
Maybe start one person. You want to talk?
Oh yeah, I was wondering like, why do you ask me that? I really just get
This piece is from. So I really like this. Saying
That's done by my daughter.
oh yeah. So I said because the music was a bit annoying. This music very sentimental. So this was like quite inspiring. Yeah, that's annoying, but this is not. So I sort of like thought of this. I wanted to make a drawing of like the classic drawings of how kids would stick on the cabinets, that kind of stuff. So I got the Scotch tape. So I really like the Scotch tape, the way I stuck it. Yeah, I like the way I sort of did this shape there. And then when I stuck it on, I wanted to do this thing here. I don't like a table. Actually, it's the body, right? I keep seeing the table, I'm confused. So I sort of wanted to do this thing here. So while doing it halfway, I thought I wanted to do an object, but it didn't become an object. It's almost like a doll. So I kind of like left it the way it is. It's like one of those classic. I like it because it looks art therapy kind of. Yeah, this one. Yeah, everyone is like going around. It seems like everyone is. So this picture was just some kind of power. So anyway, I was like doing these things. So doing this stuff around it. Then I did this here. The reason why I did this here is because this is connected to this. So I'm thinking that maybe this and this is the real version of this line. This is the diagram, I think. Who's this? Fiona. Yeah, so this is like a diagram. And then I think this is the first one I did. And because I was a bit annoyed that everything was all printed. So because I'm working on material, this is real material. So I thought of this as the real thing. It's a bit slow, so I didn't move. Yeah, so this one, this is like Robert's one. So I was a bit annoyed that everything was like really, you can't really see it. So I went to highlight. I did the reverse of Michael. I think Michael, you went to sort of like. So I kind of like highlighted the actions. Then I chose black, it's like the diamond. And I like black because it gives it some kind of like, it makes all these actions like more magical. Oh yeah, this one. So I wanted to do something to this, right? But I was very annoyed because this was actually printed on this. And it's not the real thing. So I went to and asked this you told they can work on this. To work on this. So I kind of like erased it. Actually I erased the darkest dots. And then because it's real material suddenly, so I was suddenly becoming really stressed out. So I was like erasing the darkest dots. And suddenly, because it's real material, right, suddenly I started to think about all this art history kind of stuff. So it's like, wow, I shouldn't erase it. erase really look like flower, so I thought of it. Then I like, hey, this is like too much of this kind of like image thing. So I started erasing it too. Then I confused myself and I ended with this. Yeah. I think yeah, that's it.
Yeah, actually when I submit this piece, I actually feel that it has to be a real piece. I think my photo step cannot, must be yeah.
And I also like this. I like this line. I wanted to.
These are actually the tiles.
Yeah, so I kind of like ended up like just highlighting it. And the dots are great. The dots.
You mentioned erase.
Say again?
You can't erase, but it's like fixed there.
Anyone has any questions? Any particular drawing or drawings or any particular process of the drawing?
I think it was just really nice to sit down and just quietly draw an album. Like watching everybody. It's such a long time since I've done that. And I think, yeah, it's really nice. Although it felt like exam, right? But it was just nice to sit one quiet hour to just draw. Yeah, because some of the different jobs where we will get to sit down and just draw. Like, it's really inspired me to go back and just really think about like do more of that. So it's just, yeah, it's good space and quiet.
Yeah, quite space.
It's nice to see your work.
Yeah, this is a good question. Do you feel like the work was being violated? And no one responded to your work, do you feel neglected? How do you work?
I mean, I see this as one approach. It is not the only way to do drawings. It's one way. So, I mean, we have to do our whole community. The game is, one of it is to use one, use one. So I guess, I mean, for me, I feel bad that nobody would do all that time.
But you must come up with a
No, yeah, I mean, as in confession, I know that I'm afraid that other people may feel bad that I talk. Yeah, so it's one, I see it as one approach that more like a community kind of approach to drawing and action or interaction, rather than solitary drawing where you draw and you used to do. So there are various approaches.
For me, I wonder if the reaction of the writer versus the reaction of an artist would be different when you talk about violation of your works. Because for a writer, in terms of the words, even though it is in a particular form where it is handwritten, so when you block out certain words and all that, I don't somehow feel like the words are actually being blocked out, because the words still exist almost as if it has got a spirit or something. Like if I type it into the computer, then it exists in a different form. Or if the words are being read out, then it's in the verbal form. Or if it exists in my mind, then it's in a separate form. So I think of the words having like multiple forms or multiple bodies. So even if you crucify this one, then there's still many versions of it floating around. And I think of that as slightly different from a piece of visual artwork where you make different copies of it. You know. So I don't know whether you get what I'm trying to say, because I think visually, when you sort of rip it apart or you draw over it, I think the impact, that sense of invasion might be a little bit more. But I'm just guessing, because I'm just speaking as a writer.
How do you feel when somebody corrected your grammar mistakes?
I don't really get which part you were saying though. Is it on the surface of Mirror Lake? Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out whether there's a grammatical part on the surface of Mirror Lake, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know which part was it that you had a problem problem with. But I thought what he said about changing perfectly to imperfectly might be quite interesting. Because that is also one of the words that I thought, oh, it might be too perfect, like to say that it reflects perfectly. But then what does it mean if the lights reflect imperfectly? So that's something that actually is something that I'll be thinking of. If I do continue to refine this and turn it into a
Sorry. Oh, no. I was just saying, thinking, sometimes some works can't be responded to at that moment. You need to go back and kind of think about it. And you could be going to say, hey, actually I have something to say about Fiona Strong or something. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time. We are responding to work, just simply looking at it. I'm sure all of us have something to say.
I think the timing you give us is very important. I think what you make is important.
Too short.
No, it's not about that. It's not about too short, too long. I think whatever the timing you give is what in the situation here, I think make us make what.
Let's say this is handed back because we have 1 hour and but we have that surgery that's separated in not the same environment, maybe slightly different outcome.
But I also think about what Ian was saying about drawing on somebody's actual artwork, and I wonder how that could be carried out, because obviously if there's only one original artwork that you can sort of deconstruct and work on, then of course that sense of invasion or violation would be even stronger, because if that is the only piece that you have and you're giving it up for somebody else to make amendments to, and maybe if it is the actual handwritten piece that I have, which I do keep like my handwritten drafts, then would you be willing to give it up for somebody to work on it? Because when somebody works on it, then does it still belong to you or does it belong to that other person?
Question of ownership.
But that would also mean that you will not have a case whereby multiple people respond to the same artwork, right? Because if you have original artworks, then they have to be passed around so that one person works on somebody else's piece.
Who was that artist that was taking drawings from all these, and erasing it off? What's the guy's name? I forgot. You guys remember? This is artist he would actually ask for. Yeah, he would ask for drawings from Motherwell, Frank Stella, and they asked him, what do you want my drawing? He was doing the erasing.
Yeah, he erased
Yeah, so he would go around and I think they got quite mad at some point. I'm not going to give you my drawing. Yeah, that's something to think about.
Actually, when I got Tang Ling-Nah that I wanted to do drawing, she said, oh, there's someone there. So I went there to do it. Then I realized that they're all pretty good, So I got doing to it. So it's quite difficult for me at some point. I just grabbed the one that I like best. So there's something about it, you know that you're going to do something to it, to take it away from you.
Pick the one that you like best.
Yeah, I ended up choosing the one that I like best. Actually, I wasn't sure whether I should choose the one that I like best.
Actually, you should pick the one that you like least.
Yeah, actually, I did the other way. I chose the one that I like best.
They're so good that you don't want to touch it, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I ended up choosing the one that I like best to remove it.
But I guess I think there's something extremely negative about purposefully vandalizing a work which you like the best. It's an indication of yourself, of your taste. Can you do it? It is no longer about the artist, it is about yourself. It is easy to say that you destroy the work you like the least. Because there is no sacrifice from you. But to destroy the work that you like the best, quite interesting. It's purpose in an extremely beautiful way.
Is the aircon off? It's getting a bit stuffy.
Oh, this room very nice. I like the windows.
It's true, the windows are lovely.
Maybe it's the material it's a little bit, slightly advantage material. But also at the same time, if just thinking out loud, if it is not on a photocopy paper, it's a reproduction of maybe some more substantial paper. it's interesting that this reproduction become original because you're actually taking some reproduction, but now we are generally is there some form of inception?
Actually, I didn't talk about this project. I thought we all submit the original drawing.
Yeah.
Then you react to the original one.
Yeah, but it's possible that everybody react to one drawing.
Yeah, so only one only. Everybody only reacts.
No, but Josh, to be honest, because this paper is so generic, these people, you kind of know exactly how it feels. And I'm responding to this because when I was crushing the flower that you do, it wasn't that pleasurable.
Yeah.
Because I knew exactly what I was crushing. But if I was crushing, something more tangible.
Like color paper.
Anything that could, the tactile sense is missing. I think when you reproduce, on this kind of printing paper, and I suppose we talk about materiality when we talk about drawing as well. So, yeah. And again, this kind of paper, when you crush, you know exactly what kind of creases, because this is a kind of material which we handle on a day-to-day basis almost. So, I mean, just something that I noticed.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. We'll try to improve the next round.
Of course you will.
Well, actually, I quite like the fact that I got confused with reading your instructions. So I'm not sure whether this is a real couple or not. But I didn't want to ask you because I thought maybe it's interesting that you set up like that you'd be surprised. I don't know
Because different people send different.
Yeah, correct.
So it's like that you're ready to give up your original for someone else to.
So you're taking all the original drawings?
But they come in different forms.
So
there is no original. There's no original. People do different things like that. There's some which are digital. Right. So where's the original?
Yeah, like that. That's the original. So what's going to happen to all this?
We're going to take it outside somewhere and we're just burning. Good question. Because next week, Thursday is opening. So it's open to public. People get to see. Yeah, we need some time to kind of put things together, like to curate it. We were thinking of just leaving it like that, and all this just trying to make sense. I think that's a bit too raw. They're not so hardcore as that. So we need to have some time to just make sense of it. Thursday night.